In this video, I'm going to talk about the order of operations. And what does that mean? So that basically refers to the process or the order in which we evaluate a mathematical expression. So for example, let's say we had to evaluate 3 plus 4 times 5. We have a choice. Do we add first? Do we multiply first? Does it matter? Does it make a difference? Sometimes it makes a difference. Oftentimes it will make a difference, and there is one right way to do it. There are occasions where it doesn't matter, but I would say most of the time it does. And so that's where the order of operations are going to come into play here. And so let's actually go through and do this problem both ways and see what answers we get. So let's say we do the 3 plus 4 first. So that gives us 7. And then we have to multiply by 5, and that gives us 35. I'm going to do it again, so I'm going to write the problem down again. Only this time, I'm going to do the 4 times 5 first. So I'm just going to bring down the 3. 4 times 5 is 20, and then I end up getting 20 plus 3 is 23. So I get two different answers. So it's really important I know which way is the correct way. And the right way is that second way. So 23 is the right answer, 35 is the wrong answer. And so with the order of operations, there's a mnemonic device that can be helpful. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. You may have heard of it before, but if not, I'm going to walk you through it. So the P just stands for parentheses. So if there's any type of grouping symbol like parentheses or a fraction bar or brackets are the same as parentheses, then you're going to do that first. So that's first. And then you're going to do exponents. And then you're going to work through multiplication or division, but you're doing that left to right. So even though my dear, M comes before D in the mnemonic, multiplication and division have equal priority. So you just have to work left to right. And then addition and subtraction also have equal priority. So you're going to work left to right with those also. So let's jump in and do an example. And we're going to do the examples by hand, and then we're going to use our calculator to check. So keep in mind that your calculator knows how to do the order of operations. So your calculator can be really helpful in checking. And for a lot of the math problems in our class, you can use the calculator to help you with this. It is helpful though to know how to help you solve equations and to help you understand topics in set theory to understand how to do this by hand. And so for A, we've got 2 minus 4 and then raised to the second power. So if we go through our order of operations, we have parentheses, and so the parentheses need to be done first. And then the exponent is going to be done second. So if I evaluate 2 minus 4, I end up getting negative 2. I'm going to keep that inside the parentheses, and I'm going to raise that to the second power. That means negative 2 times itself, which is a positive 4. And then to double check, I'm going to type that in exactly how it's written on my paper. So 2 minus 4 with parentheses raised to the second power, and you can see I get 4 with my calculator. Let's look at part B. So 5 to the third power plus 2. So I have an exponent and then addition. Well, in my mnemonic tells us that excuse E, exponent comes before addition. So we're going to do the exponent first, and we're going to do the plus 2 second. So 5 to the third power is 5 times 5 times 5. So that's 125, and then we're going to add 2 to that, which gives us 127. And then in the calculator, I can do 5 raised to the third power, and then make sure if you're, depending on your calculator, a lot of times when you do an exponent, you can see here the cursor is up there with the exponent. You want to make sure to use your arrow to get down below. So you press 2 and it's a big 2, not in the exponent, and you end up getting 127. Had I not done that, I'll just show you real quick what would happen. That plus 2 would stay in the exponent, which we don't want it there, and I get the wrong answer. So just a heads up on that. And then, so part C, we've got addition. So we've got addition, subtraction, and exponent. So we know and parentheses. And so the order of operations say that we do the inside of parentheses first, and then we do exponents second, and then we do the addition is going to be last or third. So I'm going to start with the inside of the parentheses. 4 minus 3 is 1. And I always write down, I do one thing at a time and I write down that step before moving on to the second step. And so then the exponent next, so 1 times itself 5 times is just 1. 1 to the 5th power is 1. And then I can add, so 2 plus 1 is 3. So my final answer is 3. And then with my calculator, 2 plus parentheses 4 minus 3 parentheses raised to the 5th power, and I end up getting 3. For part D, we've got exponent and subtraction. So we're supposed to do exponent first. So I'm going to do 2 to the 5th power, which is 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, and then subtract 1 when I'm done with that. So 2 to the 5th power is 32, minus 1 gives me 31. And then I can plug that in my calculator, 2 to the 5th power. And again, I'm going to use my right arrow to get out of that exponent, and then minus 1. And I get 31. Now for E, notice up top when next to the P that if there are grouping symbols like parentheses or a fraction bar, you've got to simplify that first. This is almost like saying, it's almost as if there are parentheses up top. You've got to do the numerator first and simplify the numerator and the denominator before you divide. And so the very first thing I'm going to do is simplify that numerator. So 3 plus 2 is 5, plus 3 is 8, plus 1 is 9. And then I get 9 over 4, or 9 divided by 4, which is 2.25. If I wanted to enter that in the calculator, I could use the fraction button, the N over D button, and I could plug it in exactly how it's written in the problem, using my down arrow to get to the denominator. Press enter, I get 2 1/4. Remember this, with this calculator, if I wanted the decimal version, if you weren't sure that that was 2 1/4, you could hit second and then the fraction button to change that into a decimal. Now, if you have a different calculator, like let's say a graphing calculator, and you want to or just a regular scientific calculator, you could just use parentheses for the numerator. So 3 plus 2 plus 3 plus 1, and then divided by 4. So that fraction bar just means division. So just use the division key for that. Okay, and so the last one, F, we've got lots of addition, and then we have division at the end, because this symbol right here, that's division. So since division comes before addition, you're going to do the division first. So I'm just going to write everything else down. So 3 plus 2 plus 3 plus, and then 1 divided by 4. So 1 divided by 4 is 0.25. Okay, and then at this point, really this is a scenario where it really doesn't matter, because addition is what we call commutative, so you can do it in any order. You can do that all in one. If you add those all together, you should get 8.25. And then if we use our calculator, we can just type that in exactly how it's written, and then use the divided by sign for some calculators. With the divided by sign, it'll look like this division sign. Sometimes it'll look like that slash that you see on the paper. They both represent the same thing. So we get 8.25. Okay, and so the next set of problems here that we're going to do can help us help us set up to review solving equations, which is the next topic of review. So remember that when you solve equations, you have to unwrap the variable by undoing the order of operations. And so it's sometimes helpful to to think about, what order you're doing something in when you're using the order of operations. So when you undo it in solving, you know what order to undo. And so with this first example, we have to simplify 2 times 3 minus 1. So what are we going to do first? We have multiplication, and then we have subtraction. And so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply 2 times 3. And then I'm going to subtract 1. Okay, so I'm going to do 2 times 3 is 6, and then subtract 1, and I get 5. Okay, with this next one, so if I'm solving for x, what am I going to do first? Well, I am going to unwrap the variable. So I'm going to do the opposite. So if I want to solve for x, right now it's being multiplied by 2, and we're subtracting 1. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to add 1 to both sides. We are undoing the order of operations. So normally I would say, well, multiply first and then subtract next. Well, when we solve, we want to do the opposite. So that's why I'm choosing to get rid of the subtraction first by adding. And then the second step is going to be divide both sides by 2 because 2 is being multiplied by x, so the opposite is division. So just to see that worked out real quick. So I would add 1 to both sides, again, because I'm undoing the order of operations, so we're undoing the subtraction before the multiplication. And so I get 5 plus 1 on the left is 6. And then x is being multiplied by 2, so the opposite of multiplication is division. So I divide both sides by 2, and I end up getting x equals 3. So again, the only time you want to do the order of operations opposite or undo the order of operations is when you're solving equations.